What the hell are we supposed to use, man? Harsh language?
Better Call Saul has ended. It's in the books.
Yep.
And we are here to give our thoughts on the entire series as it has now come to an end. We have been, for the last several weeks, doing weekly episode recaps with the latter half of this final season. So if you want to hear more in-depth thoughts on each individual episode leading to the finale, subscribe to the channel, and you can go check out the playlist for those videos. And before we get started, also be sure to check out our website, harshlanguage.tv, where you could see all of our YouTube videos and all of our recent podcast episodes and our curated nerd news by Dusty. So, Better Call Saul, written by Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould, the creators of Breaking Bad, and this was a spin-off slash prequel slash sequel.
All right.
To Breaking Bad.
Yeah, so much has happened.
Yeah.
I find myself sometimes like thinking like, did this happen in Better Call Saul or did this happen in Breaking Bad?
And I'm glad you said something along those lines, Marvin, because that is the main thing I wanted to basically sort of discuss or frame the conversation around, is that I remember when this show got first announced, I was sort of like, and I'm always a little bit like sort of skeptical when I hear about a sequel or prequel or spin-off of a series or movie.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, history has showed us that like a lot of times these things are sort of
shitty,
lacking in quality.
Lacking in quality. That was too nice.
So I was a little bit skeptical because I was like, I don't know. And also like, do I really give a fuck about Saul, the lawyer? God damn, did they prove me wrong? Because
they had a fucking plan and it was...
Yeah.
It is... Yeah.
I find it extremely impressive because let's face it, Breaking Bad is like considered by many people to probably be like one of, if not like the best show like ever on television. And that's a hard thing to claim because obviously art is subjective. We've said that many times, but like in the pantheon of great TV shows, Breaking Bad is up there with like The Wire, The Sopranos. Like it's up there.
It's got to be like top 3
for sure. 100%.
No matter what. Right.
For sure.
But you go ahead.
So, it's a ballsy undertaking to try to follow that up, right?
Man, it is.
And also follow it up within the same universe. Right. And one of your characters, but I thought Better Call Saul did, and I'm sure a lot of people agree that Better Call Saul did such a brilliant job with not only creating a story that stands completely on its own from its predecessor, but also does such a great job of adding to the universe of Breaking Bad and fleshing that out in more detail.
Keeping it all together.
Right.
Yeah. You definitely feel like it's all in the same universe and not just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was watching a streamer a couple of days ago, and he was talking about Better Call Saul, and the chat was kind of involved with it, and a bunch of people were saying like, I'm not really into this show because I don't give a fuck about Saul, and I would have much rather have seen a show about Mike. And I'm like, have you even watched this show?
Have you watched the show?
It's like it is about Mike almost as much as it is about Saul.
Straight up, yeah.
And it's not just about Mike; it's also about like Gus and his empire, and like I don't know, like it just did such a brilliant job of like weaving all these webs together into one like just comprehensive story. Like this show again, it stands on its own because you could watch Better Call Saul and enjoy it without ever having watched Breaking Bad, I think.
I actually, as the show went on, I was with you originally, but as it went on, I started to think that I don't think you could watch this without seeing Breaking Bad first.
Well, I mean, okay, so let's break that down, right? So this is a show, Better Call Saul, about Jimmy McGill, who is a struggling public defense lawyer. And, you know, he's trying to sort of make his way in the world and like become a lawyer. living in the shadow of his brother, who's like a world famous lawyer in the state of New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he's simultaneously trying to become a lawyer because that's what he wants to do, but also because like he wants the approval of his brother, right?
Right.
And that story is pervasive throughout the 6 seasons, but I don't think that story is reliant on Breaking Bad in any way. Yeah, you know, seeing some of the characters like Gus and Mike and some of the dealings with like the cartel and hearing about like the foundations of like, you know, Gus's lab and how Mike started working for Gus and all this stuff. Like, yeah, sure, that's way more impactful having seen Breaking Bad, but I don't think any of it is like 100% reliant on it. Personally, do you think?
I don't know, because without the prior knowledge of these things, I don't think it hits the same. I don't think you're as captivated with the show.
It probably doesn't hit the same. That I'll agree with you on.
Like you're just watching a show about a lawyer.
Yeah,
Right.
the impact is different. Like with the
don't-
Marie scene, like nobody knows who Hank is really in Better Call Saul. So if you didn't watch Breaking Bad and you don't know what happened to Hank, all that at the end with Marie talking about what he did and what Walt and Jesse did, and then him replying, like that's
Even beyond that, just from the like beginning of the show, I just don't know how captivating the story of this lawyer is without you already knowing where it's going at some point, right? Like without knowing, like it's almost impossible to imagine it, but I don't know how interested I would be in watching it without knowing that it's gonna be getting into some crazy like cartel stuff, you know, the meth trade stuff and all that. I just don't know. I don't know.
No, that's fair. We should do an experiment. We're gonna have to find somebody who hasn't seen
need
Breaking Bad, make them watch Better Call Saul, and then see what they thought of it.
We need a test subject.
But yeah, no, I don't think you're wrong. I think like obviously the story, the main story of Better Call Saul is about Jimmy and, you know, his relationship with Kim. Like that's the story.
Yeah. And it is a good story. I think it is a great story.
And you know, you got Mike and Gus and and the cartel and all these other characters that sort of are supporting stories to this main one.
Yeah.
And you know, throughout the course of Better Call Saul, we are introduced to Mike, and we see that, you know, he was working as a toll booth operator at the county court where Saul was a public defender, and that's how they met. And we see how Mike sort of started getting into the business of like being a fixer.
Yeah, right.
And how he was introduced to Gus, which then now we know how, okay, well, this is how Saul came to know Gus. Well, not know Gus, but Saul came to be aware of Gus, thus introducing Walt to Gus. And it's like, it's just a snowball effect of all these different stories. Out of all of these, I want to ask you guys, what was your favorite? Personally, for me, and we've talked about this so many times, I love Mike as a character. He was one of my favorite characters in Breaking Bad. I love that we got to see his origin story, essentially. I think Mike is a really compelling character because, you know, while we're in a story with like all these like bad people, the cartel and Gus and this and that and the other thing,
right? He's
like the only one that's kind of in a gray area, I think, aside from Jimmy. Like Mike is not a good guy. Let's face it. He kills people. He's a bad guy, but it's like they give you that like that questionable morality where it's like, well, he's doing it for his granddaughter to leave her with something because he feels guilty for having, you know, for his son dying. So I really like Mike, and you know, this really elevated, I think, his character to where if you go back to watch Breaking Bad and you saw all his actions and his thought process and how he was like a very focused and like to the point character, and he had to deal with fucking Walter, who was fucking nuts and like all over the place and on a power trip, after having dealt with Gus, who was like a very focused and clean cut and precise individual. It was just cool. I really enjoyed Mike. What about you guys?
You're asking our favorite character?
Yeah, I guess your favorite character arc, because again, we got to see the rise of Gus basically and how he came to be in Breaking Bad, the rise of Mike, Saul Goodman even, all these different people. Was there one particular like story arc throughout Better Call Saul that you liked more? That you liked the most?
I mean, I'd say the man himself, Saul.
Yeah.
It's he had some good arcs.
He did.
After Chuck died, he went on that whole working as a front at the cell phone place, selling cell phones to drug dealers and whatnot. And
Yeah.
he's waiting to get his law license back. Like he's been through some shit.
Yeah. Yep.
All the shenanigans with him and Kim. Like he's obviously the best character.
Marvin?
The show's about him.
I don't know if I have a favorite. I definitely enjoyed Mike, and I think the fact that so many people wanted a show about Mike
I mean, you got one.
kind of adds. I mean, you got one. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got one. So just stop. But yeah, I actually really liked Nacho. I liked his story.
Nacho's story was really good.
Yeah.
And there's a lot
his
of themes. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, right. No, his ending. I didn't really like his ending so much.
That
the way
he died,
went out.
or the way he died,
Yeah,
or what?
the way he died.
I mean, he went out like a G. And that's what I said in.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but that's what I said in the episode where we reviewed the finale. Vince Gilligan has a way of giving you like the logical conclusion to things.
True. Yeah.
Nacho was in like deep, like what was going to happen, like.
Right. There's no way out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I don't think I had a real favorite. I enjoyed all the characters really.
Okay.
There wasn't a Skylar for me in this.
No,
in
there
this
wasn't.
Show.
There wasn't. No.
There wasn't anyone that I like. Oh my god, I hate this person. Even Howard, I enjoyed Howard's character.
Well, that's the funny
and
thing.
Chuck too.
I mean, that's the great thing about like Vince Gilligan's writing, and it's just like again, I've said this a billion times, but like Breaking Bad sets you up to like you root for Walt, and then eventually there's a moment where you're just like, oh wait, he's the bad guy, and now I'm no longer rooting for him, and it's like a weird thing in your head because you're like, oh my god, like what? It's almost like you got fucking punched in the face out of nowhere. And it's very similar with Howard too, because it's like they're showing you all this stuff and you're like, yeah, fucking Jimmy, get him. Fucking Howard. He's a piece of shit. And then it's like,
oh my God, he just died.
Oh, wait a minute. Poor guy didn't deserve any of this. And I don't know. I think it's like, it's just brilliant writing. This might not be an answerable question, but do we think Better Call Saul is better than Breaking Bad? And the reason I'm asking this question is because, hang on.
All right.
I think Better Call Saul is a tighter show. I think that you could tell that the writing and direction and the filmmaking process all got way more they honed the skill, so to speak, for Better Call Saul.
Agree.
So do we think it's a better show overall? You say no. Dusty?
I say no.
I would say yes and no.
You can't do that.
Breaking Bad is Breaking Bad is probably overall a better show, but Better Call Saul allows for greater character development of these characters from this great show.
Yeah.
So it's got to step up in some ways.
Right.
So in some ways it is better than Breaking Bad, but I think overall Breaking Bad still wins.
I say no because my point earlier, I don't think Better Call Saul is that good of a show without Breaking Bad. I haven't watched Breaking Bad.
That's a fair argument.
That alone makes Breaking Bad better for me.
Fair argument. Between the two, for me personally, like I think I like Breaking Bad better, but I think Better Call Saul is probably the best show on TV, like as it's been running.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. Yeah, for sure.
It's a phenomenal show. The acting is great. Let's talk about some of the actors and the cast and their characters.
Bangers.
Bob Odenkirk playing Jimmy, Saul, Gene. Like
nothing to say about him. I mean, a lot to say, but
what a fucking great actor. Like this guy started his career as like a comedian doing sketch comedy.
Right.
And he says in interviews, like, I never thought like that this serious role, which wasn't really serious in Breaking Bad. Like he was like the comedic relief in Breaking Bad a lot of the times.
Yeah.
and like, here's this guy who's got comedian roots and doing, a banger of a job in a dramatic role for the most part. We got Rhea Seehorn as Kim Wexler, and I thought she was
Oof.
really great throughout the show. I mean, she's one of the linchpins of this show for me. I like not
What does that
only
mean?
like she's one of the characters that like holds the show together. Like
Mm.
a lot of the show is very much reliant on Kim.
Yeah. 100%. I agree.
We've seen many times she's one of like the driving forces in Jimmy's life, both for good and bad, in terms of motivation.
And
Go ahead.
I think Kim had some of the highest level of character development that we maybe got to see in the show. Diving into her past, like you wouldn't expect someone like Kim to be this like grifter type of person. Just being like a lawyer, I guess. I think she got some of the most character development. What do you guys think?
I mean, I think probably Jimmy
Saul
got the most because those are very much two different personas, like we've talked about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess outside of Jimmy, then
yeah, I would agree.
Okay.
Actually, no. Well, no, I do agree. But again, like we said, the strength of this show was that it had so many supporting characters that all got
Yeah,
a
that's
ton
true.
of
They
character
got so
development.
fleshed out. That's true. Yeah.
Another one that comes to mind is Juan Carlos Esposito as Gus. Like we get like a whole new look into Gus. Like, yeah, no, he's still Gus, sure, but this is Gus prior to his like empire really starting to take off, right?
And
We see the foundational elements to him building his empire, and not only building his empire, but also the foundational elements to him getting his revenge on the Salamanca family and Don Eladio and like, those guys.
Yep.
And that was really cool. We got Jonathan Banks as Mike Ehrmantraut. We talked about Mike a little bit. Mike's a fucking G. Patrick Fabian as Howard Hamlin did a great job. Like he played the role perfectly of like getting you to hate him for like a little while and then also getting you to sympathize with him. I think the finale really brought a lot of things full circle. We see Kim coming full circle, getting back into law. It's really what she loves to do despite her past as a grifter. We see Jimmy coming full circle and, being the kind guy that he is, despite like doing all these shady things for money and where he thinks he should be in life. I just thought it was a really great ending overall. They stuck the landing, and that's fantastic. Where do we think Vince Gilligan goes from here? Is he done with the Breaking Bad universe? Now, I don't know if you guys know this. I know this because I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge X-Files fan. It's probably my favorite show of all time. And Vince Gilligan got his start writing for X-Files. In fact,
Oh shit.
the episode with the fly in Breaking Bad that we mentioned in our review for the finale of Better Call Saul, that fly episode is very reminiscent of an X-Files episode.
Wow.
And
I did not know.
yeah, so where does he go from here? We've got Breaking Bad, we got El Camino, which kind of sort of wraps up Jesse's story. We got Better Call Saul now, which wraps up these stories. Does he do anything else in the Breaking Bad universe, or let's frame it this way because we can't know what he's going to do. Would you prefer to see him do something completely new, or would you prefer to see something else within the Breaking Bad universe? Personally, I want to see something new at this point. I don't think you could do anything more with the Breaking Bad universe.
I would want to see something in the Breaking Bad universe.
You can't let go, Marvin.
As far I just can't get enough, dude.
Yeah.
As far as what it would be, maybe we could get maybe we could get something with Gus. Maybe we haven't really seen him as a youngin.
Yeah.
As a younger man.
Maybe
we can get something there, like his empire being built up from coming out of the slums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he does.
We've only seen him as basically established.
Yeah, the Chicken Man.
Yeah.
and he has mentioned that he comes from like the slums. So
yeah,
he
and
rose
then we could
out
get
of
more
poverty.
of the. Maybe we can get more of the violence.
Ooh.
More of the action stuff. Kind of like more of the stuff we saw in Breaking Bad.
Mm-hmm. Dusty,
But,
what about
yeah.
you?
I don't know. I'd rather see a whole new story, different universe.
Boo, boo. You guys suck.
I mean,
Come
Well,
on.
no. Well, so
I mean, at this point, the character cameos are not going to have the same impact.
correct.
It's
Yeah.
going to be, you're
Yeah.
just going to be doing it for the sake of doing it.
Yeah.
It's time to move on to something else.
There's only so much that you could like insert Jesse and Walt into a scene and be like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Those things have sort of run their course, and we've gotten a lot of them in Better Call Saul. We didn't just get like Walt and Jesse. We got fucking Marie, which was like, all right, that's cool. We got we've seen
I mean, they could milk it if they wanted to for money and make
course, yeah.
but it seems like The Walking Dead.
yeah,
You've got a couple series spin-offs and stuff. It's like,
Vince
people don't care
Gilligan
anymore.
doesn't
It's
strike me
alright.
as that type of guy.
Listen.
I think everything that he's done, and again, I think it shows in how good the show was, how good El Camino was, how good Breaking Bad was, is that like he really cares about these characters, and everything that he put on the page was really to just serve the characters.
I had one more thing.
Go ahead.
It's actually one thing we missed in the finale. Well, we didn't miss it. We just didn't talk about it in our video about the finale.
Mhm.
When Jimmy was talking about his role in Walt's empire when
Yeah.
he was
Oh,
in the courthouse,
yeah.
do you think he was just bigging himself up to take more of the blame for this case, or do you think? Because I don't really remember if they showed him being that having that much impact as far as Walt's empire and his role in that.
I did think of that actually. Interesting you brought it up.
I think he was right in that they couldn't have done it without him.
Yeah,
I
right.
think he was apropos to their situation, and somebody else might have got him
Well,
busted. But so he was very pertinent.
if you remember back to a couple of episodes ago when we actually got the introduction of Walter and Jesse into the Better Call Saul timeline,
Right.
you know, Mike, after having looked into Walter White, he comes to Saul's office and he tells him, like, this guy's no good. He's going to end up in jail or dead. Don't waste your time with him. I think Saul, at the time, after having done all these things as Jimmy, I think he looked at all this stuff as what Mike described Walt as, small potatoes. I think he saw an opportunity in Walt to actually, like, this was the big time. Like, oh, this guy's like
potential.
This guy's selling meth. Like, I could see myself like I bet you I have the skills to mold him into a meth kingpin.
That's crazy.
And when he's talking about it, I do think he feels that. I think it was both. I think he was trying to big himself up, as you said, to take the responsibility. But also, I do think he felt largely responsible for Walt's success, which is actually very interesting when you think about it, because, you know, Walter, being the egregious narcissist that he was,
the ego was out of control.
Yeah, he would have a different thing to say.
He would laugh so hard at Saul for saying that. Yeah.
Yep.
And it adds another layer to the mythos of Breaking Bad now at this point, because, like, you know, I mean, obviously Walt was smart, and one of the fun parts about that show, when you do root for him, it's like, oh shit, like, how is he going to get out of this jam now? And he always uses his brain and his meticulous calculating abilities to get out of certain things and get what he wants. This adds a new layer to that. It's like, oh shit, like, if you think about it, like, his shit really didn't take off until he met Saul.
Yeah.
He was small potatoes until he met Saul. They were cooking out of a fucking RV in the desert. They were fucking selling, like, just pounds at a time, I think, to, like, local drug people. It wasn't until it wasn't until he met Saul that, you know, he got to work for Gus and he was bringing in millions and, like, all this shit. So,
like, just like that, yeah.
There's probably some credibility to what Saul said.
Yeah.
And I think that's crazy. But yeah, so wrapping up, fantastic series. It's got an 8.9 on IMDb, and as is our review tradition, we will give our own rating in line with IMDb. I would give this a solid 9. I would agree.
I don't even want to rate this almost. That's how much I treasure this.
Yeah.
Both of these shows.
Right.
But I would probably give it a 9 too.
Dusty?
I don't know that I give it a 9.
Oh my
It's
God.
awfully high. I'd say an 8.
Just-
Awfully high.
As a
Yeah.
comparison, Breaking Bad's at a 9.5. You know, one final thing is interesting. When I actually got into Breaking Bad, it was during the final season. It was while the final season was running, and it was during that gap because they split the final season up into 2 parts. So during that gap period, I had binge watched everything up to that. So when I finally caught up was when it came back on TV, and I got to watch the final parts of the series week by week on TV.
Amazing.
But it's a much different feeling being with the show for 6 seasons and watching them week by week and waiting like a year and a half for the next season to come out. It's like having it end is sort of like, I don't know.
Bittersweet.
It leaves like a gap in my...
Fucking sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what am I going to do now? What am I going to look forward to? Fuck. But
Yeah,
Fall
time to rewatch
television.
Breaking Bad again, I guess.
all good things must come to an end.
Yep,
And this episode has to come to an end as well.
it does.
And you know what? Again, I keep saying one final thing, but the final thought,
One more thing.
and one more thing, as Steve Jobs said, you know, credit to Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould and whoever else makes the decisions to end both shows before they outlive their shelf life, because you get a lot of shows like Walking Dead that, you know, Dusty mentioned,
Oh my God.
where they just go on and on and on and on forever, and it dilutes the quality of this material. It makes
Yeah.
things meaningless. So this show, as Breaking Bad did, ended in a very good place, in my opinion. It is bittersweet, but
It is.
but it is what it is. So thanks for watching along with us, folks. And
Let us know which of the 2 shows you think is better in the comments.
yeah. Let us know your thoughts and answer that question in the comment section below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell button to be notified for future videos. And if you haven't, please go check out our website, harshlanguage.tv. You can find all our YouTube videos, our podcast episodes, and curated nerd news. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.
See ya.
Asta.